Hello, maurieos. 2018 Engineering Maths Tutorial 2. Hello, welcome. Well, we're going to have a look at Tutorial 2 here today for 2018 Engineering Maths. And here we are at the home page of the course Moodle site with the formidable maths team behind me. So let's go and have a look at the tutorial, civil tutorial, just so that we know where to find it. And there's last week's one and this week's one. So first up we have a PowerPoint. And then, of course, next to it is this video that we're recording at this very moment and that you may possibly have missed live but have the opportunity to catch up on here. You lucky thing, you. So let's go to the PowerPoint, which props down to the bottom here, and we drop it up and unload it, unpack it, so to speak. And don't forget to click Enable Editing and then Slideshow from the beginning. And then we just make sure we've got it all up on screen. And there it is. The magnificent slideshow. Probably just move myself. I might just turn myself off for now and come back a little bit later. So, Engineering Maths Tutorial 2. And I'm going to go to the next page because it's got a slightly different... there's my contact details in case you were wondering. I've put those up before, so just a little reminder about those. So what are we going to do in this tutorial? Well, first up, we're going to get the class register all sorted out, and I think I'll just bring myself back into view here, put myself up here, maybe just there, so you can just to give you the reassurance that I'm here. So first up is the class register, and then the little introduction, which I'm going to do now. Your weekly worksheet 1 is due in tomorrow for the weekly quiz, so we might take some time just to answer some questions on that if there's any problems, and to get ready for the weekly quiz. Now then I will be giving back the diagnostic test, and we will take a look at that and see if there's any learning or any questions that we can get from that, because what a test like this does is it identifies problems. Now, if we just leave those problems, well, they just get left. Nothing happens. But we've gone to the bother of identifying them. Let's see if we can solve them and address them. So we'll spend some time on the diagnostic test. And then we'll go to weekly worksheet 2, which is the next set of problems that will help us either know that what we can do and move on, or identify more problems for us to solve and then sort out and move on to the next thing. Just before we finish up, we'll have a look at what to do before next week, and then we'll finish up, and you've got half an hour to tidy yourself up, have a bit of a drink, collect your thoughts together and head off to today's maths lecture. So let's that's the program. And why are we doing all this? Well, we've got some learning outcomes here that we would like to achieve, obviously, and so let's have a look at those. So you should have when you've successful completion of this tutorial, reviewed weekly worksheet 1 for hand-in. So this would be a good time to discuss what you've done with your peers, compare your results, see how you've gone, sort out any problems, because remembering that coming up on Tuesday, tomorrow, will be the weekly quiz where you're going to have to put the foot to the metal and do some questions from Worksheet 1 in an exam situation. So you need to be prepared and up for that. Now we will then, you should have reviewed any changes to the Moodle site. Remember, that's the driver of our whole course. So it's important that we check the vehicle, lift the bonnet, check the oil, check all the fluids, make sure the brakes work and everything's good so that we can move ahead. You will have reviewed the diagnostic test so that you've got squeezed out every last drop of potential learning from that, and then started work on Worksheet 2, which is new problems for you to get sorted for next week. And you will have determined what to do before next week, sorted out a plan of action. Okay, if people who fail to plan must plan to fail. So let's not let that happen and plan ahead, make some plans as to what we're going to do and how we're going to do it. Alrighty, so that brings us to our next slide, which is just a little bit of a talk about the diagnostic maths test. Now, the diagnostic maths test, as I've said before, is the basis of the maths course. This is the foundation. This is what we assume that you know, although this is what the course is designed on. We know that some of you don't know this stuff. Some of you, your maths foundation is a little weak or poor, and so we need to spend some time and effort into strengthening that foundation so that your maths building will not fall over, will not lean to one direction, that it's got strong foundations so that walls won't crack, so that over time the doors will open and shut and not be unable, and the windows will open and shut and things like that, because that just leads to problem after problem. So we sort it out at the foundation stage, put some time and effort in there, and that'll pay huge dividends later on. When I first moved to Ngaruwa here in 1982, I bought an old villa, a house, wooden house, and the piles in it were some 80 years old. So looking under the house, one could see that some of the piles had rotted, and parts of the floors were a little uneven. So the first thing I did when I bought my house was to get someone in to repile it and get it all back so that it was on a firm foundation, and that foundation is still pretty solid some 32 years later. But some interesting things occurred. When we got the house levelled and back onto a good foundation, doors that wouldn't open suddenly opened and swung freely, whereas some windows that did open and shut wouldn't open and shut anymore because they had been adjusted and what have you, so that they would work with the poor and weak foundation. So we had to sort out a number of things. Little fillets had to be taken off the windows so that there wasn't a gap anymore. So it's, fixing something at the earlier stages is by certain and far the best remedy. Otherwise, the consequences go on and on and on and create more problems when you get it fixed. So we are trying to strengthen your foundations by addressing the problems now so that we can move ahead with confidence into your maths program. So let's have another look. Let's have a look at Moodle and see what's happened this week. So to do this, we have to escape out of this PowerPoint here, and we'll close that, which should bring us back to where we were in Moodle, which is at the tutorial page here. So let's just go back home and see if there's been anything there. So generally there's been no change to this page, although you should by now have done the My Math Lab Global and be able to get into there. I have had a couple of students who have said that they've had problems with that, and I've sent them in Ken's direction. I've talked to a couple of students about when assignments are due, and it is written on the assignments in My Math Global. So I haven't got access to there as a student. I can't show you. So I would suggest that you try and find that, and if not, I will get another student to get into their My Math Global, and we can show you where it is. The first assignment is not due until the end of March, is my understanding, but you would need to confirm that. All right. Assessment. Now, the diagnostic test will have or be handing back to you, and so I've just changed the diagnostic test worksheet there a little bit, and I've put in a test blank and some model answers from the 2018 test. Now what I suggest you do with that is go through that test and make sure that you can do those questions should you be given that test again. So ask for help. Get to a point where you think you know it all, cover up a question and see if you can get it done. Then and only then would be the appropriate to move forward. If you cannot do that, you have neither learnt nor understood the problem, and you need to put more time in there so that you can move ahead. Or you may need to go back a little bit, back the truck up a bit, and learn some of the foundation stuff before that. Now, for each of the questions in the 2017 test, there are similar questions in the 2018, and here there are little videos showing you or running through those questions for you, and these may be helpful in your learning and understanding of those questions. So there's some work there on the diagnostic test. Weekly worksheets. At this stage, weekly worksheet 1 is in. So you might want to be doing some review on that. When the worksheet is in and the time for handing it in is complete, I will make the answers available for that. So that's all well and good. You can see that's hidden at the moment. And here's worksheet 2, which I'll be handing out a hard copy, but here's worksheet 2. And it's got some old exam papers in there for you to be able to work through. Again, the answers are available in the past test questions and things if you want to find them and seek them out. But I would recommend that you give it a go on your own using the resources that we have and try to get that understanding. Of course, you can ask your tutor as well for a bit of help, and I may run through a few as well. So these are the methods that we use to understand the maths. The answer in actual fact is proof that we understand, but it's the journey and the understanding that's the important part. So yes, we'll be working on all of that. So let's just let me see now. We can drop that down there. And so that's worksheet 2. And a reminder that coming up is, and here it is here, hidden from view, weekly worksheet, a weekly quiz 1. Weekly quiz 1. And that's going to be tomorrow, and you need to be prepared for that. Remember, it's part of your assessment. And then you are going to have the model answers will be available later in the week, or perhaps once it's been given back to you. The written assignment is unchanged. Test and exam revision, that's where the questions and answers are in there. And the diagnostic test I've talked to you about. Now, the lecture coming up is going to be on algebra here. So prior to that lecture, you should have looked through these links here and had a look at those, because that's what Ken is going to be talking to you about in today's lecture. And there's some extra worksheets and things that you could use here or view here and copy those off, and they were extra work over and above the worksheets. I'm going to do my Moodle moments about halfway through the lecture. So here's the PowerPoint that I'm going to use, and here's a video that I recorded earlier, much like this one, and that's of the going through there. Post-class activities, so there's some little bits and pieces that you can do, as well as the worksheets on top of the My Maths Global. The more experience, the more you do, the better you'll get. Practice, practice, practice. Okay, and so there's even more exam questions that you could have a go at, and then check the answer against the answers and that sort of thing. So it's all there in front of you. The problems are there. It's up to you to solve the problems using whatever method you can. You might be able to do it by watching information that's made available, perhaps asking your peers, asking your tutors, making sure that you can get the problem. We've put the problem in front of you. We've told you the deadlines. You need to get in and get the work done. That's how it works. We're here to help you, but you've got to buy a ticket. Okay, you won't win the prize if you don't buy a ticket. And buying a ticket means doing some work, and when you're encountering a problem, doing enough work to solve the problem. If you don't solve the problem, it will be there. It will still be there and could come back to haunt you later on. Tutorials, I've explained that there, and the resources, there's been no change there. So I think that's pretty much all we need to know, really. I think I've given you various reminders and things about tests and worksheets are due in. So you should know if you do have any questions, you could always put them in the comments on the video below, or you can contact me on my contact details, or you could ask me in person, perhaps by coming to class or catching up with me. So there's many ways, many avenues, many ways to solve these problems. All good. I'm going to stop it there. Cheers. See you.